Welcome to Meet the Movie Press. This week, we're going to talk about Alicia Vikander as Tomb Raider, Robert Downey Jr. coming back for possibly Iron Man 4, Sherlock Holmes 3, and Spiderman Homecoming. And we're going to talk about Fox pulling out of Hall H at Comic-Con. Stay tuned.
Welcome to Popcorn Talk, featuring movie discussion, news, and interviews. Popcorn Talk. We talk movies. And now, here's Popcorn Talk's Meet the Movie Press.
Good morning,
Hello
everybody. Reunited, and it feels so good.
I missed you. I woke up on Friday, and you were just like, I was like, where is he?
I reached for you in bed.
Yeah.
Where were you?
Because we live together like Bert and Ernie.
Like we're the odd couple. I am Jeff Sneider, host of Meet the Movie Press, film reporter for The Wrap, and I'm here with my lovely co-host Simon Thompson, who's back this week.
I am.
Where were you last week, Simon?
I was in Atlanta for
the ATL.
The ATL, where approximately everything is filming right now.
Approximately
everything. That's maths.
What were you there for?
I was on the set of Edgar Wright's new film, Baby Driver.
Oh, shit. I bet you can't say anything about it.
I can't say anything about it. I don't even think I was supposed to say that. But yeah, no, I was asked to go on set last week and had an amazing day, actually, behind the scenes and watching certain scenes being filmed, and very excited about it.
That's super cool. I'm actually
great.
really excited about it. The cast for that movie is insane.
It's phenomenal. It's great.
Very cool.
Yeah, really good cast, really eclectic, and I don't think audiences will be disappointed at all.
Okay,
So
those are bold. Those are fighting words.
Yeah.
I think we all are eager to see Edgar behind the camera again. You didn't stop by the Office Christmas party set while you were down there?
I didn't.
That sounds like a blast.
I know, but there was
All
other
those
stuff. There were a
photos.
couple of. In fact, there was another thing that John Hamm's been working on, Keeping Up with the Joneses.
That's right.
Was on set doing some stuff as well, some pickups.
Still? I was maybe reshoots or something like that?
Some pickups. So that was still going on, and obviously there's a lot of other stuff that's going to be filming in Atlanta very, very shortly, which is excellent. So yeah, very busy there right now, which is great for the industry there. You know, a lot of people there have got a lot of work at the moment, so it's a good thing.
Yeah, I would say so.
Good thing.
All right, well, let's just dive into the show. That we have a lot to talk about.
Busy
we
week.
missed you last week.
Thank you. I'm very touched by that.
I thought the calls went well, let's talk about after the show maybe adding some calls as like
I think that's a great idea.
regular feature.
I know that's something we had some feedback on Twitter this week, and I think that's a really good idea. So yeah, let's do it.
Yeah, maybe not this week, but going forward,
Weeks
we'll
after
discuss.
this.
We'll huddle up with the team here at the Popcorn Talk
let's
Network.
do
But we're going to dive in right now and talk about Oscar winner Alicia Vikander.
Yeah.
Cast as Lara Croft in Tomb Raider. What do you think?
I think it's a really good call, actually. Obviously, there were quite a few names that were bandied around. Daisy from Star Wars Force Awakens was in the pot, apparently, as well. I think of those two options, Alicia Vikander is the stronger one. I think she has proved her... She's proved her range, I think, and proved her mettle in films so far with, Ex Machina. I thought she was excellent in.
Sure, of course, she was wonderful.
I loved her in The Man from U.N.C.L.E. I wish she had more to do. I like that movie. I think that got a raw deal in theaters last year.
I really like Man from U.N.C.L.E., and I was saying yesterday on Twitter, it may be my favorite performance of hers.
Yeah.
Obviously, she was brilliant in Ex Machina. She was very good in Danish Girl, for which she won the Oscar.
Yep.
But there's something about her and U.N.C.L.E. where it's just a very physical performance. She's allowed to be sexy.
But not overtly sexy.
No.
No, it's really,
She's
really...
not playing like the tramp or the vixen or anything.
Yeah.
It's just...
She's got a brilliant way of putting it out there and just having enough to just rein it back. And I really like her as an actress. I find her very exciting to watch. And she hasn't done anything like this, but I think she'll bring a level of gravitas to it as well as the sexiness.
Now, can you buy her kicking ass? She's a tiny girl.
Yeah, I think we can. I would be open to that, very much so. And if you look at a lot of women in action in movies at the moment, they tend to be, understandably, on perhaps the taller, broader scale. They're physically kick-ass. I like the idea. I like the juxta with this by the fact that she isn't that.
Interesting.
And I think she'll bring something very different to it than Angelina Jolie did. And again, physically, they're quite different in size and scale. And I think it'll be a really interesting choice. It's not a lazy casting.
No, I actually like the idea because she's Swedish, right? And the director, is he Swedish or Norwegian? Roar Uthaug.
I think he's Swedish.
He may be Swedish as well. So I'm kind of liking them working together. Did you see The Wave?
I did. And again,
it was good.
Talking
right?
about, intensity but reined in.
Yeah.
That is encapsulated in that movie. So I think if you combine her and his directorial skills, it's a strong recipe.
It's much stronger than I was anticipating for this reboot.
It'll probably have brains.
I have a lot of thoughts, actually, about it. I think it's good for the movie that they got her. Obviously, she's on the way up.
Yep.
Going to be a huge star. I think it's good for her, too. She's not the girl the way that she is in the Jason Bourne movie.
Yep.
And I haven't seen Jason Bourne. I don't know how they're going to use her. But... she was going to do that. She was going to do Assassin's Creed with Michael Fassbender, which she also would have been the quote-unquote girl role or whatever. She has her own franchise now.
Yeah.
So it's like, it's a good move for her. It's a good move for MGM. I don't know if she was the best fit. I think I was still rooting for someone like Alexander Daddario, someone...
Okay.
I mean, you can't argue, getting an Oscar winner over that, but I kind of had my heart set on Daddario or someone along those lines. I think Alicia's a little small for me to believe that she can kick ass, but I guess it doesn't matter these days.
Yeah, but if you compare her to sort of, let's compare her to say Daisy Ridley, Star Wars. She is quite petite, and she kicked ass in that movie. I bought her in that as a strong female action element of that film.
Absolutely.
So I think that it's one of the reasons I like the fact she's, because it plays with this thing where we think that everybody has to have the physical physique of, let's look at Wonder Woman. She's
right. Not everyone has to be an Amazon. Right?
Yeah, and she is very feminine, and I think that will be something that other films where we see women kicking ass don't offer as much of, which I think will be part of the appeal. Because, not all women who want to watch women kicking ass are going to be built like a brick shithouse.
Right. Of course.
So I like it.
Again, it's all in the performance. You're right. Daisy Ridley is slight in stature, but seems like a badass in Star Wars. Now, she had been rumored for this movie. I know Cara Delevingne was another name that sort of surfaced yesterday. Mm-hmm. I never understood the Daisy Ridley rumors. I always thought that they were kind of bullshit.
I think those basically came around the fact that, she's done this kind of thing in one film, so let's put her in the box.
Well, that's how everybody thinks.
Yeah.
But I guess I think a lot about these castings from the point of view of the actual agents and like, why would someone sign on to that?
Yeah.
To me, she, whether she's playing Tomb Raider or what was her name in Star Wars? Sorry. Ray. Whether she's playing Tomb Raider or Ray, it's the same character. It's the same thing. She's already done it. So why did she? I never understood. I never thought that she was going to do Tomb Raider, even though she confirmed taking a meeting on the project.
Yeah.
Listen, guys, she's met with a lot of.
Who wouldn't want to
people.
talk to her about it though? If you were a studio, because obviously there's an audience. She came out of nowhere, and there's an audience that really love her.
Sure.
So if you were a studio, you would be remiss not to at least have a conversation.
Of course.
But she's going to be tied up with Star Wars for a hell of a long time. And she probably wouldn't want to physically, alone from typecasting, want to go from action.
Exactly. You can't put yourself in that box. You've already proven that you can lead a gigantic blockbuster and handle yourself like that. I think that Daisy is focused on showing the world that she can really act and that she's not just a movie star, that she's like a great actress. And I think that's sort of why we saw her, she's going to be working with Marielle Heller and J.J. Abrams on Colma, and then she just signed on this week to The Lost Wife. I think that was a story that our buddy Justin Kroll broke, and that's like a Holocaust drama. So, yeah, I'm not surprised that she's going in a different direction, and I'm glad that Alicia, is able to basically step in because she's great casting.
But I think it's right to do it at this point in her career as well, where she has done a lot of things and she is going to do a lot of things that are very serious and quite highbrow. And then you don't just look at her and go, you're very serious. And then 5 years down the line when she goes, I'm going to do a comedy, everyone's like, what the fuck is she doing a comedy? She doesn't do comedy. She's a serious lady.
Alicia's at the same agency, too, as Angelina. And I can just see, a few months down the line, maybe a blessing, a public blessing, if you will.
Yeah.
Anyways, there's not that much more to say about Tomb Raider. I know our viewers have been really excited about it for years, going back to when Riley was here. They would always ask about it. I hope you guys are happy. I think this could work out pretty well.
And I said a couple of months ago that I didn't know, sort of, outside of the hardcore fans, exactly how relevant Lara Croft was still seen. But I think if there was any doubt, by getting her to do this, I think makes it completely relevant and brings it bang up to date.
Do kids give a shit though? Like, are they still playing the Tomb Raider games? I don't even know.
I don't, to be honest with you, I don't know, but I think it's kind of like things that kids don't do anymore, but they know that their parents used to do, so they're aware of it.
Right.
So I think there is that pop culture connection with the character as an iconic piece of film and of gaming, and I think there's that social aspect that even if they don't play Lara Croft games, they know who Lara Croft is.
Okay.
So I think there is that.
Understanding of the franchise.
Yeah.
It did recently get rebooted a few years ago,
Mm-hmm.
and it told the story of essentially Lara's first tomb raiding. So from my understanding, the films are going to take place in this new rebooted game universe, so it'll be her first couple of outings trying to find the identity as Lara Croft, the Tomb Raider.
That's okay. Interesting. Thank you.
Interesting.
Thank
Good
you
idea.
for
Good
weighing in. I guess we should move it on.
Okay.
Let's talk about Robert Downey Jr.
Yeah, big week for him.
This guy's up.
I think a lot of
he's running his
publications
mouth.
actually. Well, Civil War's out next week, so I think he's just basically Robert Downey Jr. does this thing. He says nothing for a long time,
Yeah.
and then he comes out, and you can't
Starts
fucking shut him
negotiating
up
for the press.
Yeah, he's just like
For the
blah
press, too.
blah blah blah. Robert Downey chatty. So he. I think a lot of publications have had to hire special Robert Downey Jr. correspondents this week because there's been a lot of stuff coming out. So first off, obviously he said in the past that he didn't want to do another Iron Man movie. He was kind of leaving that behind. We know that when I spoke to the Russo brothers a couple of months ago that they were saying that, you know, potentially looking at resting Iron Man, and it was unlikely that there was really going to be a standalone Iron Man movie. Now this week, during a piece to promote Captain America: Civil War, Robert Downey Jr. said to ABC that he is open to the possibility of a fourth Iron Man movie.
Is this something that you want? Are we dying to see more fucking Iron Man? This guy's going to be in 9. He's going to play Iron Man 9 times.
Do you know
by the
what?
end of
I
Infinity
really
War.
like Iron Man as a character.
Great character.
I was not particularly excited when the first film came out. When I looked at the trailers, I thought it was going to be shit. I was horribly wrong because it was excellent.
It was good.
I really liked it.
The end of Iron Man is a mess.
Yeah, but I was kind of over here with like it's going to be shit, and then it turned out to be the opposite of shit. So I really enjoyed
It's
it.
good. It's one of the better movies.
And I think he has a really nice dynamic to the whole Avengers platform. But he has, I just wonder if it is time for him to be rested. And I don't know if there's enough there. Obviously, there's a lot of stuff that we can pull out of the comics, but there's a lot of other really interesting characters coming through in the Marvel Universe that I think he should just move aside and let's see some of those take center stage for a while.
I mean, Kroll tweeted something to this effect where it was like, at the end of all this, when all is said and done, Robert Downey Jr. will have played Iron Man more times than Stallone played Rocky.
Yeah.
I mean, it's like, I think it's even more times than Hugh Jackman played Wolverine.
Yeah.
Like, that's crazy.
But, I mean...
This is not the Robert Downey Jr. I know. Sorry, guys. From 10 years ago.
So angry, you've
Unbelievable.
thrown your drink off the desk.
No, okay, so I tweeted out some feelings last week as well about all the good
Never
shits on
tweet your
Twitter,
feelings,
guys.
yeah.
About Robert Downey Jr., where it's like, I like him as Tony Stark too.
Yeah.
I'm glad he's great in Civil War.
Mm-hmm.
I'm pumped he's going to be in Spider-Man: Homecoming because he had a great natural chemistry with Tom Holland's Peter Parker.
Yep.
This guy, 10 years ago, 15 years ago, was one of the greatest actors that we had. Mm-hmm. In fact, I was just listening to a Nine Inch Nails song from the soundtrack of Natural Born Killers.
Excellent.
Where is that Robert Downey Jr.?
Yeah.
Is he ever coming back? I mean, it's just been Tony Stark and then the Judge and Sherlock Holmes. And he's also talking about doing Sherlock Holmes 3 now, right? They just hired a new writer for that.
Exactly, yeah.
Enough with the franchises. Like, this guy is such a talent, and I feel like he doesn't challenge himself. He just chases these paydays. I know the Judge didn't do so hot, but it's like you got to pick yourself up.
Yep.
You have that star power where you can, usher something through development. The Judge was a misfire. Go back out and do something else.
That is true, but don't forget that the public... The paying public, not just people, sort of industry people like us, who I tend to refer to people who aren't like us as normal people, because they are the people that choose to put $15 down to go to the theatre. They make a very different decision to the ones that we make.
I'm not normal.
Well, I think we're special in our own way. But the public love him. It's just proven, by the majority of films that he's in, they love him. Kids love Iron Man. Disney makes a shitload of money out of Iron Man. He's like the most popular character in as far as merchandising goes within the Marvel universe. You know, bearing in mind obviously Spidey is massively popular as well, but certainly within the Disney side of it. So there's a lot of money to be made. So if you're a company and you know that that's your golden goose, you're going to want that goose to keep laying these eggs. So
Sure.
you're going to want to find a reason to put him in there. And if Robert Downey Jr. is up for it, and Robert Downey Jr. does not do whatever Robert Downey Jr. does not want to do.
Right, so it's like,
you know,
he obviously is fine. He's comfortable doing this, and I just wish that he would push himself because he is so good. I'd like to see him as a villain in something, like robbing a bank. Can he be like a master, like in a movie like The Town or a Heat, some kind of crime movie?
That's not a bad idea.
He's just capable of so much more. And it's frustrating.
Yes, Robert Downey Jr., you're a massive underachiever. For God's sake, Downey Jr., get your shits together.
So there was Sherlock Holmes 3, Iron Man 4, Spider-Man Homecoming.
Sherlock Holmes 3. It's been a while since the last one. It's been, 5 years? There was 3 years between the first two films. And obviously Benedict Cumberbatch has kind of got Sherlock nailed. We don't
need another one. Especially from Guy Ritchie.
Yeah, you see, I like Guy Ritchie. I've liked all his films.
I like Guy Ritchie too.
But see, Man from U.N.C.L.E., I love that film.
Yes.
Give him Bond. Give him Bond.
I'm a fan of Guy Ritchie, but Sherlock Holmes, that series hasn't done much for me, I'll be honest. I mean, I don't think the movies have been bad.
Yeah.
They've been like 2.5 star movies for me.
Okay. I would say 3.5.
This is out of 4, Simon. You're going
It's not a 4. It is not a 4. I'd go 3.5.
You do the British 5-star system?
Yeah.
No, there's 4 stars.
Okay, so if I do 3.5 in American, that if doing 10, that'll be 7.
Give me the equation.
Let me just do the maths.
Okay.
So Robert Downey Jr. busy, blah blah.
Yeah, lots. Let's see what else is going on. Some Marvel things.
Yes.
A couple of Marvel things this morning brought news that John Bernthal is getting his own TV show as the Punisher. What do you think?
I love the Punisher as a character. I haven't watched the second season of Daredevil yet. That's on my list to do this weekend.
Bro, leave right now.
I heard nothing but great things. So
he's fucking awesome.
I love the character, the Punisher. I even love the shitty Dolph Lundgren Punisher movie from the 80s.
That is
I genuinely enjoy that. I like the Punisher movie that Thomas Jane did with John Travolta. I got a kick out of that movie. It's not a great movie, but I enjoyed it. The Punisher is a character that I've always really enjoyed. And I haven't seen this interpretation, but I have heard nothing but great things about
fucking
him.
Badass.
So it does not surprise me, especially when some of the other TV shows have kind of, from the Marvel universe, the stuff that's being done for Netflix, have kind of gone off the boil or have been dropped or not really sort of met the potential. I think they're seeing the fact that if this is a strong character portrayed really well, they are.
Wait, what hasn't met the potential? What do you mean?
Obviously, Agent Carter.
Oh, that's network TV.
Some would say that S.H.I.E.L.D. hasn't done particularly well.
You have to be a huge fucking geek to be watching those shows. You got to be a Marvel diehard. Who would watch those shows on network television?
Massive geeks.
Garbage, man. Oh, I wouldn't even watch an episode. I don't even need to see an episode to know it's garbage. Give me a break. Give me a break.
Wow. Somebody got out of the wrong side of bed this morning.
That's what that's what they pay me for.
Yeah.
These hot takes, Simon. So I'm coming at you with fighting words.
What do you think? Shit.
Yeah, I would never watch an episode of Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. or Agent Carter.
But also,
crazy.
I haven't watched it, but Jessica Jones?
That's Netflix. That's different.
Yeah.
The Netflix shit's killing it. I don't know why these shows are being made elsewhere.
Stop making TV, everyone.
That's right.
Stop it.
So anyways.
Yeah.
Sorry.
It's fine, isn't it?
So they've got Luke Cage coming.
Yeah.
They've got Iron Fist coming.
Yeah.
Supposedly the Defenders, although there's been some questions now where it's like, man, has the Punisher jumped the Defenders? I don't know what the fuck the Defenders are.
They defend things.
Yeah, of course. A different neighborhood
it's on their
in New
resume.
York.
Resume.
Yeah. There's
experience. A lot of defending. A lot of defending on there. Yeah. Some protecting, but mostly defending.
Anyways, pumped. I've loved John Bernthal on Daredevil, and it's awesome that he's getting his own show. It's great that they have the flexibility to sort of recognize that when they have a breakout character on their hands. I mean, I loved Elektra too this season. I don't think she's getting her own show, but she really impressed me, Elodie Young. Elsewhere in the Marvel Universe, late last Friday, those sneaky fucks at Disney. I'm in a swearing mood.
That
They're
Mickey
not
Mouse
fucks.
operation.
They're not fucks.
Yeah.
They have booted Inhumans off the schedule.
Yeah.
Will it return?
I think they put a lot of work in publicizing it and working on the project in pre-production to just let it die. Mm-hmm. And I think they are going to have to look at their alternatives to things like Suicide Squad that are going to be coming out of DC. I think they're going to have, that alternative. So I think they're going to, and not just have Avengers as their collective. Mm-hmm. So I'd be very surprised.
The Guardians too.
Yeah, but I mean, the thing is that they have a lot of projects on the slate at the moment. They've got a lot of stuff.
There's a lot.
If there's something, I don't think they want to risk putting something out there that isn't good enough and isn't developed in the way that they've developed the other projects. They don't want to take that risk because it could go to shit off that. Because if there's a failure within, and this goes for both Marvel and DC, and we saw this with Batman versus Superman, if you don't perhaps do it as well as you could have done, people don't let you forget that. So I think they don't want to take that risk. And they're like, okay, we've got a lot of stuff coming out, a lot of stuff we're playing with, a lot of really interesting characters, a lot of interesting properties. Let's maybe take this one that we haven't fully developed, put it on the shelf for now, come back to it in 2 years, maybe. I'm just pulling that date out of my head. And let's just work on it some more.
Could we see, here's my question. All these movies in the Marvel Universe are basically at the same scale. Mm-hmm. Ant-Man was maybe a little less expensive. Don't you think?
Yeah.
Could we see them experiment with that? Could Inhumans sort of be made as an $80 million movie as opposed to a $150 million movie?
It could be, because that does work for Disney. I mean, like I said previously, when I spoke to the Russo brothers and they were talking about which characters they were going to include in Civil War and obviously then moving on to Infinity, Ant-Man tests ridiculously highly with audiences. He's a massively popular character.
My favorite character in Civil War, my favorite movie in the Marvel Universe.
So I think, yes, that is something they could look at doing. But again, I don't think they want to go off, sort of half-cocked. They want to go at it with both barrels.
And listen, I'm always a big fan of, these studios announce these release dates so far in advance. I give them credit when they recognize either we're not going to make the date or we're not going to force something, like just to try to make a date.
Well, they don't have to. It's not like they have gaps in the schedule. I mean, seriously, it's crammed as... You could put a piece of coal into the Disney schedule right now, pull it out, and it would be a diamond. That's how tight the Disney schedule is.
Well said. Elsewhere on the Disney schedule, there's a movie lurking titled Captain Marvel.
Yep.
I gave fans a again, the reason rumors don't get reported is because they're rumors. So I had heard one little something and hadn't even started investigating it, and stupidly said something on the show last week, like I always do.
You idiot.
And everyone just runs wild with it, and all of a sudden Catherine Bigelow is directing, and Catherine Winnick is starring. I didn't even know Catherine Winnick before yesterday. She got cast in The Dark Tower, let alone starting rumors about her. So... Yeah. It's just, guys, if you're watching this show, take everything we say with a grain of salt. There's a reason. I don't come on here to break news. If I knew who was playing Captain Marvel, you'd read about it on therap.com. If you're not reading about it there, it's because I'm not confident in it, and so don't put words in my mouth. It's just, you're ruining a bad thing sometimes, fans. You're ruining it.
Let's take a break a second and look at what people are saying, responding to what we've already discussed.
Sure, all right.
Simon's got some questionable taste. Lol. Okay, I like some shit. I'll hold my hands up. That's from my wife. No, that's Omega Underground said that. The Punisher we get in Daredevil season 2 could carry a series. That's from Superfinch, absolutely. Xeno Hour, get on it, Simon. Yeah, fine. ABC ruins everything. That's from Omega Underground. That Thomas Jane Punisher was absolute garbage. That's from Gregory Castillo. So obviously a lot of people agreeing with me this week. Omega Underground again. Netflix hires great talent. ABC only does things to save money. Jeremy Flores, Agent Carter is Marvel Studios production. Jeff is killing it. What about Cloak and Dagger in the Freeform channel? FXX is working on Marvel TV on 2 X-Men shows, Legion and Hellfire Club. So there is stuff obviously going on in the terrestrial space.
I would just be shocked if even I mean, Legion kind of sounds okay, but I don't know. Network TV and Netflix and cable, it's just totally different worlds. It's just the tone in the ABC shows, from what I've seen on commercials, it looks so hokey.
Yeah.
I don't know. And plus it's populated with just actors, these bland TV actors. TV is so... Network television casting is so bland to me. I don't know any of these people.
Maybe you're
I know, like, everybody.
Maybe you're just getting old, Jeff.
Maybe. I definitely sound like a cranky old man today.
Hey, kids today, get off my lawn.
Get off my primetime schedule.
What are you doing on ABC?
I want a Goldberg spinoff.
What is all this
Taking up
talking
time.
television? I remember when it was black and white.
Elsewhere in the comic book movie world.
Jamie, okay, comic book movies. Go ahead.
20th Century Fox. Pulling out of Hall H, apparently, at Comic-Con.
Yeah, really interesting.
Disney will be in Hall H, but I think it's going to have a reduced presence. My colleague at the Wrap broke this story, and it was very interesting. We've also heard rumblings that maybe Sony could not be showing up in Hall H, or not bringing Spider-Man. I don't know.
You see, Disney doesn't necessarily
sounds like a
surprise
mess.
me, because they've got D23.
Not this year, though, right?
They're not doing it this year?
I'm told D23 is every other year. There may be some other thing in Burbank for like a day, but I don't think it's like the big D23 thing.
Okay.
Either way, Fox is pulling out of Hall H for sure. People are saying it's because they don't have anything to show this year or something like that.
And then other people are saying it's because of piracy.
Right, that's what our report said. I mean, I think it's probably a combination of both things. I think that the piracy has gotten out of hand, and that Comic-Con needs to do something about it. I think that the studios have been talking to them, and short of taking everyone's phones away, which is a fucking nightmare at every Disney premiere that I go to. It's just impossible. You can't police. I don't know how many 5,000 phones in there.
Yeah, I mean, there's piracy. Unfortunately, I think is always going to happen, because there's always going to be somebody who wants to have the jump on everybody else.
Yep.
Especially when you're in a room with all the other people, you want to make sure that your tweet, first one, everybody does the retweet on it. That's the way it is now.
That's
You're
true.
a blogger,
I'm the same way.
First post on a blog, that's just the way it is. The only way to get around some of the footage leaking is if you make sure that all the outlets that are going to be attending have the stuff to post in the proper official form.
Right.
The second it goes live
And
on
I will
stage.
say that a lot of studios are ill prepared for that kind of stuff.
It's 101. It's basic shit.
Yep.
It's like going out for dinner and forgetting your wallet. You're going to have to pay for your meal. That's the only way to stop shitty versions of your trailers and your images turning up online.
Right.
It's the only way to control it.
And I get, well, why would we put it online immediately after if these people are paying to come here and see this? Like, it doesn't make it too special if 5 minutes later it's everywhere.
But you know what? Those people. I mean, there's people in the chat room saying that this is one of the reasons that they're not going to Comic-Con this year. People want to feel like they're there. Not everybody can get there because it's ridiculously expensive, or they can't get if they're a journalist, they can't get an outlet to take it. So you have to bring that experience. Everything now, whether it's a premiere or whether it's a launch, there's a lot of live streaming. I think people don't mind not being there physically in the room. They're close enough to the action. We saw this with Star Wars.
That's true.
Because they can sit at home. They can do it with no underwear on if they want to, or while they're just doing the laundry, and they can still get that experience. That's how I experienced the Star Wars stuff. So you don't have to have everybody there. You can do it online and everybody can enjoy it. But if you don't, someone's going to stream it on Periscope. Someone's going to do it on Facebook video. You can't
does that
this.
suck? Like, the fans spoiling it for themselves. They're scaring off the studios.
Yeah, there is an element of that. But everybody wants to have the biggest dick at the pissing contest. Everybody wants to be that guy.
Sure. And listen, I pushed the envelope too. This week, I think it was this week, I posted a screenshot from Sony's leaked CinemaCon presentation that was on like Chinese YouTube, a screenshot of Chris Pratt and Jennifer Lawrence from Passengers.
Yeah.
Now, do I think it's Sony's fault that presentation leaked onto Chinese YouTube? Partially. Did Do I think they could have taken it down? Like, if I can find it, they can find it, and they could have it taken down. So I didn't really feel guilty about sharing the image, knowing also full well it would come out eventually, or someone else was going to do it. So I get wanting to push the envelope, but I don't know. Part of me thinks that these fans are shooting themselves in the foot.
Yeah, and also, we are living in a world where film fans, and I count myself amongst this, everybody wants to know so much about product these days and films. They want to know who's in it, what it's about,
Which makes no
storyline.
sense to me.
And then everybody whines and goes, I know too much about the movie, it's spoiled. I haven't watched the new X-Men trailer this week because I'm really looking forward to the film. I don't want to go into that movie.
No, seeing everything about it.
I've seen everything. It's cool.
The ticket's already sold.
So I stop engaging with this product. I'm in. I'm gonna see it. I'm gonna probably go and see it for free, and then I'm gonna pay to see it as well because that's what I do. But yeah, I mean, it's a difficult, thing between people wanting to be the first and everybody moaning that there's too much stuff out there. Right. We have this with TV shows like Game of Thrones, Fear the Walking Dead, this kind of thing, where everybody's watching it in different time zones and people are tweeting about it and everybody wants to be part of this conversation, but nobody wants to see the conversation because it's going to give something away because they haven't watched the episode yet.
Right.
And so you can't have it both ways.
Kit Harington's hair looks a certain way, and does that mean he's coming back?
Spoiler! Yeah, it's just, we're kind of victims of our own kind of system, really. But
it's unfortunate. I mean, listen, the number one rule of Comic-Con for the studios, though, it's like, if you don't have the goods for Hall H, don't go.
Yeah.
Because you do not want to be the worst reviewed studio, or the studio where everyone's just like, oh, that was boring. So I get a studio pulling out if the calendar just doesn't line up with like the assets that they have to show. I'm trying to think, like, what would Disney even...
But some people do use Comic-Con as an attempt to effectively polish a turd. If they've got a product that they don't particularly think is great, they go there to really ramp up the excitement and get the engagement. It's happened I remember it happening with Total Recall a few years ago. Terrible remake, but everybody at Comic-Con was really excited because Colin Farrell was very excited about it and it looked really interesting, and the visuals that came out. So people can use it as an attempt to really hype stuff that they perhaps don't actually think is that good.
But like,
that might get lost otherwise.
Like, X-Men comes out in May, Comic-Con's in July. What would Fox even have brought? I don't think, will there even be Wolverine footage at that point?
At that point, there might be, because they start filming Wolverine next week or the week after.
Oh, okay.
Because one of the people that I was talking to last week was they're going to be working on the set. So it's first or second week of May. They're going to start doing that.
All right, fair enough. And speaking of Wolverine, we'll transition away from the Comic-Con discussion since probably not many of our listeners really get a chance to go. I've never been.
It's not. I mean, I'm going for the first time this year, but only because you
got a hotel room
paying me. No, I have a friend who lives in San Diego.
Just crazy.
I say a friend. I'm going to be sleeping under a bridge. But it's not just Comic-Con when this problem is. I remember with Anchorman 2 a couple of years ago, the trailer hadn't been released officially for online outlets, and then people were filming it in theaters where it was showing before. I can't remember what the movie was, and there were shitty versions of the trailer that were going up online, and Paramount were like, don't share that shitty version. We'll have the trailer out tomorrow. It's like, too late. It's out there.
I want to watch it right now.
So the only way to combat this stuff is just release it the second it's announced, stick it out there.
Which is what Warner Brothers did with Suicide Squad, didn't they?
Yeah, it's the right way to do it.
That was smart.
Just do it.
So yeah, Wolverine 3, they got, who do they get? Richard E. Grant.
Yes, he's going to play a mad scientist, which is great.
All scientists are mad,
He's
apparently.
nuttier than a squirrel shit. I love him.
I loved him in Don Hemingway, the Jude Law movie.
Yeah.
He was fucking good in that.
Yeah,
and I liked him on Girls.
And, Withnail and I, amazing. Have you seen? You have
I have
seen
never seen Withnail and I know
up.
That's a huge gap in that Harold and
you
Maude.
take the piss out of me.
There's a couple of those. That's 80s, right?
It is. Yeah, it is 80s.
Yeah, there's a few 80s movies that I'm still
genius
dragging behind on. Who was the other Wolverine 3 casting though?
It's someone I really was not expecting. Stephen Merchant.
Right. Okay. Yes.
No word on who he's going to play yet.
Right.
I'm assuming he will be
some kind of comic relief.
All right there, Wolverine. I'm from the West Country. All right. Some tall, lanky comedic guy.
Going to be the T.J. Miller of
yeah, I think that's effectively where they're
universe.
pitching him. But he's tall and gangly and awkward and British, and I think it'll be quite nice. But there's 3 British players in there: Patrick Stewart, Stephen Merchant, and Richard E. Grant.
Very British sequel.
Could it mean that some of it
Set
in bloody old England.
Oh shit!
Hello.
I did want to actually clear this up because I went to write about the Stephen Merchant Wolverine 3 casting. I went to his IMDb page,
Right.
and it said Transformers 5, and I knew that was because of me. So I did a story about Isabella Moner doing Transformers 5.
yeah.
And I was going to say that Stephen Merchant and some other fucking WME client, I'm blanking on who it is, that they were being eyed for roles in Transformers 5. And right before we published, I heard like that's not true. Like Michael Bay is not really looking at Stephen Merchant for Transformers 5. So I took them out of the report.
Right.
But I fucked up and the subhead didn't change. Okay, they were in this like the story
That's
was
sloppy.
the story was about Isabella.
Yeah.
But they were in the deck, so to speak, and so they didn't get deleted. And I think that they were still keywords in the story too. I couldn't delete the keywords for some reason. Our system was a bit of a mess.
Okay.
So like
not a good day.
right after I told like Paramount and WME like don't worry, like they're out of the story.
Yeah.
We blast it and they're in the subhead of the blast, and like literally. 24 or 48 hours, only one person had picked up on it on Twitter, as far as I could tell. But then you start to see the rumor spread, and eventually it makes it to IMDb, and it's Stephen Merchant rumored for Transformers 5. Clearly, he was looking to do some kind of big blockbuster. Transformers 5 is not the one. He's ended up doing Wolverine 3.
Do I go with a man who's got
correct your
noise in his
schedule.
hands, or do I go with the giant bloody robots? Apparently, he's going to be playing Morph in the movie. Now,
Who?
Well,
Moth?
Morph. M-O-R-P-H. Morph.
Morph,
Now, in the
okay.
UK, Morph is a little plasticine or Play-Doh character, little animated character. And I don't think it's him.
Okay.
Because that would be really weird. So I don't know who Morph is.
A Groot type character? Interesting.
So apparently he's going to be
But
playing
he's
that.
hilarious. I think he'll inject a little levity into the proceedings. What else? Blade Runner. We had some castings on that front.
Yeah.
Sylvia Hoeks is the new female.
I'm getting more and more
lead.
excited about this movie.
Me too.
Really excited about it.
I really dig it.
Yeah, it's building up to be a really strong cast. I'm just waiting now to get some idea of what the plot is going to be. To see how it all
I have said it
fits
on
together.
El Mayimbe's podcast. I'll repeat it here.
Okay.
From what I understand, Gosling is like a detective of sorts or something.
Okay.
And Robin Wright's daughter, I think, goes missing, and she hires him to investigate the disappearance.
Okay.
And I think along the way he meets up with Deckard.
Okay.
Like during the course of that investigation. And I don't think that the daughter role has been cast yet.
Mm-hmm.
I think that, and this is all speculation. I don't have any of this confirmed. I think Ana de Armas.
Just putting this all on IMDb.
Yeah, put it on
Yeah.
it. I feel
Stephen
like
Merchant, yeah?
Ana de Armas, I think, is going to be a replicant.
Okay.
That makes sense. Sylvia Hoeks, I don't know how to pronounce her last name. I think she's the actress who I had heard was going to have a smaller role in this. I mean, it's still described as a lead in the Alcon press release, but that she would have a small but key role in this that would then get bigger in the sequel.
Okay.
And I think that they are thinking like that. A Blade Runner 3 already.
Cool.
I mean, I don't even know if Gosling has even closed his deal yet. But when you have him and he's willing to do a big movie like that, yeah, you want to franchise it.
Yeah. Taking a step back, apparently Morph is Wolverine's best friend in the cartoon.
There you go.
So, yeah.
That makes sense.
Yeah, so there you go. Clarified.
So yeah, Blade Runner I think is going to be super cool. Obviously love the director of Prisoners and Sicario.
Yeah.
Deakins is shooting it.
Yes.
Roger Deakins.
Beautiful.
And again,
Master.
this is the WB event film on October 6th, 2017. That's the date that it got. There was a WB event film there.
October 6th.
Yeah.
My birthday.
Is it?
Yeah. Thank you, Warner.
Oh, very
Just
cool.
saying.
We'll celebrate that
Thank
day
you.
next year.
We will do.
But yeah, it's
happens
Warner
every
Brothers
year.
is not releasing an event movie
Yeah.
up against its own Blade Runner sequel, guys.
Yeah.
They're one and the same. So make that connection. Elsewhere, what else? We got a few things.
Yeah.
It got a release date from Warner Brothers. Speaking of Warner Brothers release
Yeah.
dates.
You see, I really like the original TV movie, the two-part TV movie. I'm intrigued to see what they do with this. Obviously, they're going to split it into two movies, as so many studios do these days. The first part, did you discuss this last week?
No.
Okay, where the first part of the movie is going to be when the kids are young, and then
Right.
the second movie is going to be when they're adults. So I think that will be interesting casting there. Really potentially interesting casting because you cast well-known actors as the adults and then have unknowns who are going to look a bit like they would the adults when they were younger, or do you try and find lots of well-known people who are going to look? Which way do you do that? So I think interesting casting potentially there, and obviously the director left the project.
Fukunaga.
Yeah.
Well, we have Andy Muschietti now.
Yeah. How do you feel about that?
It's fine.
Interesting choice?
It's
or?
fine.
Okay.
I don't think it's a terrible choice. I think he's an up-and-coming genre director. Mama was okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, whatever. I don't know, the direction that he's taking it or the casting, which we can get into a little here.
Okay.
So, from what I'd heard that they were down to 5 candidates or so, or they were nearing a decision that Will
Sure.
Poulter was still in the mix.
Yeah.
He was Fukunaga's.
I'm disappointed that he's not involved now because I really like him as an actor.
I definitely warmed up to that idea. I think it could be really cool. I think he's still in the mix, but there's one other name who I had started to hear.
Okay.
This actor has been rumored on fan lists and that kind of stuff.
Okay.
He has starred in 2 gigantic Warner Brothers franchises. Those franchises are The Matrix and The Lord of the Rings. And do you know who I'm talking about?
Gollum.
Nope.
No.
That would be cool, though.
Ooh, I know, right?
That'd be super fucking cool.
No.
Come on, The Matrix and Lord of the Rings, buddy. Which actor do they share? There's only 3 or 4 actors you should know in The Matrix, anyways.
Yeah, so Lawrence Fishburne.
Nope.
Not in there.
He's not it.
Keanu Reeves.
Not in
Not
the
in
clown.
there.
Not Carrie-Anne Moss, which leaves...
I don't know. Who else?
Mr. Anderson. Mr. Smith.
Okay.
Could that be interesting?
That could be interesting. Yeah, where's that coming from? Because that's actually really interesting casting.
That's coming from a decent source.
Okay.
Just that he's a strong contender.
Okay. That I could go with that.
Mr. Weaving.
I think, yes.
Mr. Weaving. He's got a little Tim Curry in him, no?
Yeah.
That Cheshire Cat grin.
Yeah.
We'll see.
That's that. If that is true.
He's very close to Mendelsohn, who was like the original choice.
Yeah.
Like if you can't get Ben, get Hugo, or you just go in a completely different direction, stick with Will.
I think,
I don't know.
if that is true, I think that would work really well.
I also heard that there's and I don't have the name for this, but just that there's like a very outside the box choice. Maybe that is Hugo Weaving, but I heard there's just someone like crazy. Like what if they went with a female Pennywise?
I don't think.
You don't think so?
I don't think, no.
Someone just fucking terrifying, man. You don't think fucking Charlize Theron would kill that or something? Not that it's her, but
Look, okay, I'm just going to put that on IMDb. It's Charlize Theron.
I think that would be
with Stephen Merchant.
I think it would be a really interesting way to distinguish itself because
Do you
Tim
think they'd
Curry
do
is
that,
so
though?
iconic in that role.
I think if people kind of lose their shit about changing of sex in roles in other things, I think that the internet might explode. Especially because I think Tim Curry was so... I love Tim Curry. I absolutely adore the man.
Did you see a black Pennywise?
Yeah, I could...
Black guy with white clown makeup?
I could see more a chance of there being a black Pennywise than a female Pennywise. Don't ask me why. I just think people would swallow it a lot more.
I just think there's something very
and there's a lot of great
and
African American
exciting that could
actors
happen
out there who I think could really do that. There was someone I saw actually.
I'm dying to see who they get. I'm real excited for that.
Here's an idea. If they did go for a black Pennywise, there is a guy I saw. He had a smaller role in Interstellar. I think his name is David Goyer.
Ghiatti, right?
Yes.
Something like that?
Yeah. British actor, black. If they did go for somebody, he would be great.
Interesting choice.
I think he'd be
would not
really
have thought
good.
of that one. Either way, glad to see that New Line is pressing forward with it and that it got a release date.
Yeah.
Disney set up a whole bunch of release dates this week too for a lot of live action movies and fairy tales. They kind of ran down their development list. All good stuff. There's nothing where I was just like, ugh, why are they making that? But
No real surprises.
Listen, I'll see Mary Poppins too. Sure.
I didn't like Mary. I'm not a fan of Mary Poppins. I'm known from the
something I'm
UK,
super
and everybody
up to
in the UK loves Mary Poppins. But no, I'm just Maleficent 2. I liked Maleficent.
I never saw it actually.
It got a lot of shit when it came out, which I think was unfair because I prefer it as far as live action things that Disney have done in recent years. I prefer it to things like the very good Cinderella, but I preferred it to that. And a lot of people really didn't like Maleficent. I really enjoyed that film. Flawed in many ways, but I did enjoy it. That's probably of all the projects. The Jungle Cruise I'm not so excited about with Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson. I swear to God, I opened a letter the other day and Dwayne Johnson was in it. He's in literally everything.
Hardest working man in showbiz.
Well, I mean, great. I love Dwayne Johnson. I think he's great. But Jesus, give the guy a week off.
Seriously.
He's in everything. And at the moment, there appears to be a trend for let's have Dwayne Johnson and Kevin Hart in a movie. I think there are so many films that come out this week. It's like Dwayne Johnson and Kevin Hart are linked to it.
Why don't they just remake Twins?
Yeah, do it. That would be better. But it's just, I mean, I love Dwayne Johnson, but he has so many projects on the go right now.
Yeah.
I just don't, and this is again, I'll go back to the beginning of the show with Alicia Vikander. I just think that sometimes in Hollywood, we overuse very good people and they just burn a little bit quicker than they should do. Now, this hasn't happened to Dwayne Johnson yet. He still remained massively popular and he is box office gold, but I just don't want to get tired of enjoying him on screen.
Fair enough. We have like 10 minutes left in the show, so
Okay.
we're going to have to cruise through some topics. We're not going to have time to talk about Jamie Foxx and the Happy Time Murders.
No.
But that is happening.
Yes, finally, it's been on and off for a long time. So Brian
I
Henson
like the idea of a
directing.
dark R-rated puppet movie, a crime.
Avenue Q meets LA Confidential is how they're pitching it.
It sounds
I like
cool, but we don't have time to talk about it.
Okay.
We're going to talk about a few other things, one of which is Keanu. Let's just get that out of the
yeah.
way. We saw Keanu this week.
Yeah.
What'd you think?
I thought it was really funny. When it was funny, it was really, really funny. I think there were little parts of the movie that didn't quite flow as well as they perhaps should have done. Mm-hmm. But I think there are enough nuggets in there that are comedy gold that I think people will quote and I think they'll share and will become ingrained in pop culture, that I think it's going to do well. I'm surprised there's a lot of certainly around LA, there's quite a few posters, but it's not as blanket as I would have expected it to.
It's mainly a digital campaign to focus on their
and
audience.
I really liked it. And in the UK, they're not particularly well known. So, I've come to it quite cold. I knew who they were because I'm aware of their
Do you
stuff
watch
for
Key and
Comedy
Peele?
Central.
Are you a fan?
I know who they are, but in the UK...
Do you watch the show?
Yes, I do.
Okay.
And I've seen... I first became aware of them with a lot of their stuff that was online. I think they're very good, and I think they work really, really well together. They reminded me of kind of Bad Boys, the Will Smith, Martin Lawrence dynamic in that film. They just feel very natural
And they
together.
were going for that. They were on Bill Simmons' podcast, and they actually mentioned Bad Boys a lot as like one of their favorite
clear that
movies.
the influences are in there.
Bad Boys is a great movie.
Yeah. I liked it. I thought it was funny. I think there were little bits that didn't quite work, but overall, I found it a very satisfying comedy. I saw some of the TV quotes were like, best comedy film like forever or like film of the year, and I'm like, it wasn't that for me, but I did really enjoy it. And it's one of the films that my wife actually came with me to see it. It's the type of thing that she would never usually want to watch, but she was really desperate to see it. And I think if it appeals to her, I use her as the litmus test, then I think it will win a lot of people who are curious over it.
I think it's going to do well, and a lot of women are going to go check it out because they love cats. I'm a big Key and Peele fan. I watched all the episodes of the show. Thought it was great. The last season kind of ran out of steam, and I was relieved that they're now ending the show and transitioning to the big screen.
Sure.
I thought the movie was okay. I think the movie lived up to its reviews, which were mediocre coming out of South by Southwest. The movie I found problematic. Like you said, it has a lot. Like I laughed a good amount. There's plenty of comedy gold nuggets, and I loved everything with the cat.
Yeah.
When the cat, whether it's the opening scene or the end, when the cat sort of helps to save the day, all that shit's gold, and the cat is adorable.
Yeah.
The movie felt like it was made by guys who just got out to TV. Just the rhythms, the stuff with there's a great celebrity cameo that I thought was a blast, and so Peele's in that scene, and then Key's sitting in a car, and they keep cutting back and forth, and it goes on for like 20 or 25 minutes.
That felt flabby for me. They could have trimmed that.
There's a little Yeah, I don't think that this shows everything that they can do. I think that these guys are. I think that they're brilliant.
Yeah.
I think that they're capable of a lot more, and that their next outing will be even bigger and better. Mm-hmm. This missed the mark a little for me. It was like it's going to go on my blog list under the good but should have been better. It's a 2.5-star movie.
I think that's fair. I think it'll do well at theaters, and I think it will probably find more of a home and more of a cult status when it hits home entertainment. I think it's really going to come that. It sets up for a sequel,
and I'm fine. I'm down to see the sequel.
See,
I think that they'll learn from this experience.
Yeah.
And I think, I also don't want to say too much. I was next to Key in a restaurant recently,
okay,
and heard him discussing this movie with some people, and I think that maybe there is a feeling that maybe they left a little on the table. But it felt like a first film.
Yeah.
It felt like a first film to me. And it's Peter Atencio's first film, too.
Yeah.
I think he's got a very bright future as a comedy director, but
very much so.
This wasn't a bullseye. To me, it just wasn't.
Well, when the beats hit, I think they hit absolutely spot on. I mean, you were in the same
For
screening
sure.
as me.
I was
when the laughs came, they were big laughs.
My coworkers loved it.
Yeah.
Don't get me wrong. And I was kind of sick, so maybe I wasn't in the mood to laugh as much as I could have been. Again, I liked it. I just didn't think it was as good as what I know those guys are capable of making. Yeah. That's all.
But I enjoyed it, and I really hope it does well at the box office. Do go and see it. It's worth paying $15 to go and see.
Absolutely. No, check it out. And by the way, it's been a grim couple of weeks, I feel like. I saw Jungle Book at the beginning of April. So April, I just have not seen much.
And there's not a lot happening around Captain America, which obviously comes out next week. I'm seeing that on Monday.
You have what?
I haven't seen it yet.
You
I'm seeing it on
Civil
Monday.
War? Oh, forgive me. I thought that you had.
No, somebody went to the premiere, didn't they?
I did.
How was that?
Did you see the Snowden trailer?
I did.
What did you think?
I'm really excited about that film.
That looked really good, better than I was expecting. The accent, I guess, is a little weird, but it didn't bother me.
No.
Looked good. I'm excited.
It looked. I was expecting it to be, and the final film might be, but I was expecting it to be perhaps a bit drier than it was. I think there's going to be a lot more life in that than people are expecting, and I think it's going to do for audiences where films like perhaps things like Steve Jobs didn't hit that tone.
It's just such a fascinating story, the Edward Snowden story,
and it's a great cast.
And it's a very interesting cast too. And Oliver Stone is capable of surprising us. People seem to have written him off a little, and I would think that's dangerous.
But a lot of directors have done some, questionable projects and some things that just haven't hit the mark.
This is right in his wheelhouse.
And I think this is going to be him back on top form.
We got 5 more minutes left in the show.
Talk about the Omen.
Yep, we can do that was one of the 3 things that are on the final list here.
So, 20th Century Fox.
Antonio Campos is going to direct a Omen prequel.
Yeah.
Do we need an Omen prequel, and what do we think of the hire? Simon?
I think, do we need it? No, I don't think so. I think we've already had 3 Omen.
And there's a Damien show on, isn't there?
Yeah, there's Damien on A&E, which is fine. It's okay. It's not an amazing show. And it's been 3 sequels. There was the films, obviously from the original Richard Donner one, and then there was a kind of a really quite bad.
I have not seen the Omen sequels, and then there was a remake 9 or 10 years ago.
With Liev Schreiber
and Julia Stiles,
and which I quite enjoyed. I thought it was fine. I don't think we need this, but I am quite interested to see what they're going to do with it. I like to give films like this the benefit of the doubt, especially when it's sort of remakes of classic films and stuff like that. So I would be interesting to look at the backstory, but do we need it? I don't think we do. But there's not a lot of strong, high-profile horror outside of franchises like Conjuring 2, that kind of thing. So I think there is that little gap in the horror market in theatres at the moment, vacated by things like Paranormal Activity, that kind of thing in the calendar, that I think this actually could sit quite well within Fox's remit. So they don't go too heavy on certain types of films. They haven't got a lot of stuff like this coming out, so I think it's a nice addition to their catalogue.
I'm all for more studio horror films. I don't think that I don't think we need a new Omen. I don't know if that is the property to reboot. I just feel like we've seen it before in evil kid movies or whatever. At least they hired Antonio Campos, who I think can do something different with it.
Yep.
He is not like John Moore, who directed the Omen remake, and John Moore is just a hack. Antonio Campos is an interesting filmmaker, and he could do something really cool with it. However, and I love Antonio, and I've known him for a long time. We went to NYU together. He is not commercially minded.
Okay.
He never will be. I don't think. I don't think he makes movies for a mass audience.
Okay.
That's what sort of excites me about this, because I think it could be one of the, like, a witch or a Babadook, or like you could get something really odd and weird and fascinating. Antonio is one of the producers of Martha, Marcy, May, Marlene. He didn't direct that film, but like I've seen all of his films. Simon Killer, After School. They're weird.
Yeah.
I just don't know that he's going to deliver maybe like the blockbuster that they're hoping for. Or some
But
breakout
maybe
hit.
not having that blockbuster feel about it will actually work in its favor, because Babadook, stuff like that, great movies.
Sure, and if you had the Babadook with a 20th Century Fox marketing budget, you have a nice sizable hit on your hands.
And if it doesn't work out, they can always rebrand it and call it Omen and tie it in with X-Men and
That's true.
I
mean, listen, it was intriguing, that's for sure.
Yeah.
And I know Fox has been a big champion of Antonio and the Borderline guys. When they after Martha, Marcy, May, Marlene, Fox Searchlight gave them a deal.
Yeah.
Nothing happened with that deal. I don't think anything came out of that. But clearly, the powers that be at Fox are fans of those guys. Two more things to talk about. Will Ferrell cast as Ronald Reagan.
Yes.
In an Alzheimer's comedy. Now, the script was on the blacklist. Supposedly a great script. They did a live read recently. James Brolin played Reagan in the live read with John Cho and Lena Dunham. People were really excited about it. And then yesterday, Reagan's children came out, and they were basically calling this movie deplorable. As soon as I saw the headline, I actually thought it spelled bad news. I don't know if this movie ever gets made. They made some really good points.
There are a lot of movies that Will Ferrell is attached to that never see the light of day.
Sure.
Do you remember there was the Sherlock Holmes one a few years ago? That,
Yeah. He attaches himself to a lot of stuff.
Yeah, so I don't know. When I read that story, again, to me, it didn't feel like a film that would perhaps make it to theaters.
It sounded like a quirky indie, and maybe I did it a disservice in calling it an Alzheimer's comedy. I mean, the description itself calls it a hilarious political satire. So if you're hilarious, you're probably a comedy. I don't even know. Variety may have called it like a drama.
But if they do the comedy in the same way that Cancer was handled in 50-50, I think you can still have
It can be poignant.
It can be poignant and disease-based.
Right.
But
Again,
not like,
I don't think Reagan's children
have
have not read the script. I hate that when people like put something down and well, we do that all the time. But
let me just amend IMDb.
When they're like, oh, this is going to be disrespectful to my father. I mean, you haven't read the script, so you don't really know what they're planning yet.
But
I get it. I get the natural defensiveness.
It's not like they're going to make a comedy and I think mock Ronald Reagan and go, if I got Alzheimer's, I'm always forgetting things. Like Steve Martin, kind of Mr. Magoo.
Right. That kind of script doesn't make the blacklist. So this is clearly something much smarter. It doesn't have a director. It doesn't have financing yet. Farrell's just producing through his company.
Okay.
So we'll see what comes of this. But I don't think that those headlines yesterday helped this project.
No. But he is going to be doing Daddy's Home, the sequel with Mark Wahlberg, which was confirmed this week as well.
That's right.
That film did surprisingly well, especially in the face of...
I enjoyed it.
Yeah,
I went to see it on Christmas.
It's a solid comedy. And especially in the face of Star Wars last year, did very well. I think it had a solid take. And audiences really liked the film.
It's a good pair. People like the two of them together, Will and Mark Wahlberg.
So this will be the third time they've worked together then.
And we've got to close the show with the biggest story in Hollywood this week, which was the DreamWorks Animation Comcast merger. Did you pay attention to this at all?
I was monitoring it yesterday, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of been all I've been doing all fucking week. So Jeffrey Katzenberg has been shopping DreamWorks Animation for years.
Yeah.
I'm relieved he didn't sell it to the Chinese or the Japanese. I don't love the idea of China just taking over Hollywood, which is like America's greatest export. So I'm glad he's keeping it in the family, so to speak, selling to Comcast.
Yeah.
Chris Meledandri, the head of Illumination Entertainment, is really going to oversee DreamWorks, have oversight of DreamWorks titles.
Yeah.
They're going to remain separate brands. There's not going to be layoffs at either company, as far as I know. They're going to each be allowed to do their own thing, the same way that Pixar and Disney Animation do, and John Lasseter sort of oversees everything there. I think it can only help DreamWorks Animation is a really great brand. Yeah, it's been in the shadow of Pixar all these years, but like they've launched 5 franchises,
Which have
They've
done-
won Oscars.
Well-respected, well-received franchises.
Yeah, exactly.
It's not like sort of the days of, Bluth Studios.
And obviously Illumination, there's no hotter animation company like, up and coming right now. They're going to have a huge summer with Secret Life of Pets, which looks like a blast.
Yeah.
I don't know. It makes a lot of sense. I think this is the best possible outcome for DreamWorks Animation. Yeah.
I think it's in good hands. I mean, I think some of the ownership, and especially obviously we're looking at what's going to happen with Paramount in the next couple of weeks as well. That potentially some of Paramount could be sold off, and that could go into
Hollywood is shrinking. It seems like,
and that could go to an Asian buyer. That could go overseas.
Sure.
So I think that kind of ownership is inevitable, and I think there's a lot of money out there right now, and there's a lot of stuff going on with studios, and certainly the box office in China is a very, very lucrative and growing market. It's doing really well. So I think it's inevitable that they will want to have more ownership of Hollywood, but I think especially for this particular buyout, it is nice that it's going to go the way that it's gone. Of all the possible outcomes, it's not a bad outcome.
And it really strengthens Universal when you're adding another 2 or 3 almost guaranteed hits, so to speak,
Well,
to
Pets,
the
I
slate every
totally
year.
see Pets as being a franchise. I totally see that as being a franchise.
Sure. But I mean, when you're adding How to Train Your Dragon, which is kind of fascinating to me. It was in my store yesterday. The first film was released by Paramount. The second was released by Fox. And the third film is slated for 2018, which is after the Fox deal, DreamWorks Fox deal ends. That is probably going to be released by Universal now. 3 movies, same franchise, all released by different studios.
Yeah.
Will they be jockeying for position for release dates, the Illumination stuff and the DreamWorks stuff? Yes, but there's enough months in the year. Disney and Pixar get it done. Pixar sticks to May and June. Disney Animation often goes in November. I don't know. I think it'll work out.
Yeah, I think there's enough space in the calendar for all of that to coexist, because obviously you've got the Easter market, sort of schools breaking up for that kind of thing, and then you've got the summer market. There is. If you look at sort of use this summer for example, there's not a huge amount of animated stuff in there, and they tend to do particularly well, especially with family audiences. And when we're seeing a lot more intelligent animation, like Zootopia, Zootropolis, whatever they're calling it in whichever market, doing exceptionally well, and doing well with adults as well, because this is intelligent animation, and there is a lot in there for the adult audience as well. I think there is more room for this kind of product because it's strong content.
Well, congrats.
Well written.
Congrats to Jeffrey Katzenberg. $3.8 billion, nothing to sneeze at. Well, that'll probably do it for the show. We got to wrap up, man. Yeah, we probably went over, and there's plenty of stuff we didn't even get to. We should be back next week on the opening day of Captain America Civil War.
Little film.
Which I'm sure many of you, we encourage you all to go see it the Thursday night before so that we can spoil it. Hopefully you'll check it out.
What we should do is take some calls. I'm seeing it Monday. We should take some calls because people will have seen that on Thursday.
We will talk to the people here at Popcorn Talk Network and take some calls about Civil War next week. Anything you want to plug? Anything coming up?
Well, you can find me on Instagram and Twitter at Showbiz Simon. You can find me on Facebook at facebook.com/This is Simon Thompson. And also on our sister network, AfterBuzz TV, you can catch me co-hosting the Fear the Walking Dead after show.
Okay.
Sunday night, 8 o'clock. And this week's episode is going to kick you in the nuts. It's a good one. So we're going to be dissecting that on Sunday night.
I'm Jeff Sneider, film reporter for TheWrap.com, not kicking anybody in the nuts, unless you're into that kind of thing, folks. Follow me on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, all that good shit. Thanks for listening.
Thank you.
To Meet the Movie Press, rate, comment, subscribe on the Popcorn Talk Network, and have a great weekend, folks.
See ya.
From producers Maria Menounos, Kevin Undergaro, Phil Svitek, and the entire Popcorn Talk Network, we would like to thank you for tuning in. For questions or comments, be sure to visit popcorntalk.com. I'm Sir Richard Wentworth, and this has been a presentation of the Popcorn Talk Network.
The views expressed herein are those of the hosts only and do not necessarily reflect the views of the Popcorn Talk Network or its owners or principals.